Hello and welcome. In this video, I'm going to try and show you how to use JASP to analyze all the different variables that you need to analyze for the practice final exam. So the first thing you'll notice after you get the data file loaded, here I have the data file loaded. The first thing you'll notice is that it's a huge data file. It's bigger than anything you've seen so far. Don't be intimidated by that. It's very common to have a very large data file with more variables in it than you can use for any single analysis. We just have all of the variables for all of the different analyses in here. But the way you're going to analyze it is going to be exactly the same. So I'm just going to quickly walk through some tricks to navigating through all of the output when you have a lot of different statistical output in JASP. So I'm going to assume you've already got the data loaded in, and the first thing you're going to have to do is perform a t-test for the practice exam. So you're going to go down and click on t-test, and then you want to do a one sample t-test. And notice you have all of your variables listed over here, and that's way more than you need. For a single sample t, you only need one variable, and in the actual test, it tells you which variables to use. I believe it says use exam 1, but unfortunately, actually in the data file, it's called exam, so just go with that one. Click that over, and you see it gives you your single sample t. But remember, you need to change the test value. This is comparing the mean of the sample, which you need to click all of this information, just like I did there. That's always nice to get a plot. And then you want to change the test value to the appropriate test value. For this one, again, it'll say it in the question, but it's 23, so you need to change that to 23. So then you'll get all the numbers you need, okay? Now, you'll have to interpret that, answer some questions about that, and so on. Now, when you're ready to move on to something else, you can click on this bold label here, and it will collapse all that. And then you can go, you don't have to do this. You can just go ahead and run another statistic, because the next statistic you want to run is a related samples t. So you can click on this and then do paired samples t, and it'll run. And it'll just add it at the bottom of this, but if you close this, it's just easier to see it. So you click on that, paired samples t, and then again, in the actual question, notice how it's giving the output over here. I haven't moved the variables over, so it's not showing up yet. But you can always go back and look at the single sample t data up here. Just scroll back and forth, and you always just read the labels. So in the actual question, it tells you that you want to compare first day to final day. And now it does matter what order you put it in there. If I do it first day and you do it, if I do first day first and final day second, I'm going to get a t value. If you do it in the opposite order, yours will be different than mine, in that it'll be the same value, but you might get a negative and I might get a positive or something like that. So you're going to want to keep that in mind. If you do it and you get the right number, but it's the opposite sign, it's not that you're doing something wrong, it's just that we put them in a different order, and that means you might be better just to flip them so that all of your numbers match up exactly and you don't have to think about it. But then you put these over here, and you want to make sure that you click everything that you need again. Again, it's all of these things. And then you're going to get your output, and then you're going to think about it. Okay, now you want to do something else, you close this. And the next thing you want to run is the independent t. So again, you go to t-test, and now you go to independent t. And in this one, what you're comparing are, the grouping variable is HS stats, so that goes there. And then your DV, in this case, is final 2. And again, it tells you all this in the actual test question. And then you want to make sure you collect everything that you want. And then you've got your independent t. So again, it's all the same. You could still scroll up and look at the other stuff if you want. All right, and now if we want to move on from there, just click on this and that'll close. Now you're going to want to run an ANOVA. So you can click on ANOVA. And in this case, the grouping variable or fixed factor is type of class. And your dependent variable is final4. Pop that over. Make sure you click on everything you want. You don't want eta squared, you want omega squared. Again, make sure you click on everything you want here. Let's see. And I think that's everything we need. Let's make sure. Yeah, we didn't even need marginal means here. Okay, so yeah, there's how you will run your ANOVA. Remember though, when you are analyzing the p-values for the post hoc tests, you don't want to use these p-values. You got to use the p-value calculator to get the other p-value, not the Tukey p-value. You want the normal t-test p-value. So you got to go to that p-value calculator, enter this t-value with the degrees of freedom, which if you're comparing group 1 and group 2, each of those had 30, so it would be a total n of 60. For an independent t, it'd be 60 minus 2, so it'd be 58 would be the df you enter, then enter that, and then it'll give you a p-value, which will obviously be smaller than this p-value. Okay, and that should give you everything you need there. And then you need to interpret all of this, of course. Then you need to run a two-way ANOVA. So you go to ANOVA and ANOVA again. And in this case, your variables are Dean's list and RQs, which stands for reading question. And your dependent variable is read comp, reading comprehension score. And then you'll just throw in everything that you want again. This is the one where you need quite a few things. Post hoc, effect size. I always like to do the plots. Okay, and then marginal means, you definitely need that for this one. And then the simple effects, of course. Now, it doesn't really tell you which ones to do, but you probably want to put Dean's list on the bottom down here so that you can get the simple effect. I mean, it does ask you for that simple effect, and in order to get that simple effect, you need to have it on the bottom down here. Yeah, and that'll give you everything that you need. And you just need to know how to pick it out and read. Oh, you'll definitely want to label these. I tell you how to label these in the actual test. So just so you remember, you need to click on the actual variable. So if Dean's list is the one, and click on that. I tell you what 0 is. You'll type that in and change it to what the label is, and change this to what the label is, and do that. I would recommend you do that for all of your variables, and I tell you how to label them. And again, I'm part of the thing I'm testing is your facility with using JASP. So I tell you what to label them so that the output will be a little easier to read. And then finally, you have the correlation, which is what you'll have to do. So you click on regression, correlation. And in this case, it's asking you for 3 different correlations. So the easiest way of doing this is to, well, you can look at the scatter plots, I suppose, first, but I don't think I actually asked you to do that. But it's asking you for the correlation between a variable called conservative liberal and then these things called epistemologies, or ways that people think they can assess the validity of a claim. You may remember these types of variables. Many of you participated in this experiment, or it was an experiment in this study, and what you're going to be analyzing here is the actual data that some of you helped contribute to. You'll read about it in the question, but the first variable is people rated how conservative or liberal they were politically. A higher score was more liberal and a lower score was more conservative. Not that one's better than the other, it's just something's got to be a high and low. And then these other scales are the extent to which people think they can judge the validity of a claim, or how they go about judging a validity of a claim. To what extent do they judge it based on their gut feeling or their intuition? That's this feeling one. Evidence, they feel like they do it based on evidence. And another one, policy epistemology, is one where people think facts are really just made up by the people in power. So there isn't really objective truth. It's more just whoever has the power to just tell their story. So if you put all of these over here, you're going to get a big correlation matrix. Well, big, small actually, correlation matrix. And then you have to pick out the ones that you are interested in to answer the various questions. Here are the scatter plots. And so there you go. I think that should be everything you need to analyze the data. Obviously, you're going to have to do quite a bit more work to interpret it and pick out the right answers, but this is just a quick refresher on what you're going to have to be able to do for the practice final as well as the final. The actual final is going to be similar to this. Obviously, it'll have different data, and you'll have to obviously interpret it differently because the data will be differently and such, but this will be a good preparation, I think. All right, I hope the practice test goes well. If you have any questions, please show up to class and I'll try and answer them, or you can send me an email if it's a quick question. Thanks, and I hope everything goes well for you.